Hello aspirants, welcome to the GS Score. I am Ashutosh and let's discuss today's current affairs based question MCQ, which are important from the prelims point of view. And in this session, we are going to discuss some 5 questions taken from today's current affairs. So let's start the session here. First of all, let's look at the topics to be covered today. And the first topic we are going to see is the protection under parliamentary privileges. This is the theme of the topic which has been taken today. And why this has been taken? Because of the news regarding the parliamentary privileges. First of all, what happened that a day before yesterday, a 7-judge bench of the Honorable Supreme Court had declared that the parliamentary privileges or the immunity will not protect the legislators who take bribes or anything illegal to vote or speak in the parliament or state legislative assemblies from criminal proceedings. Okay, or the prosecution, you can say it. So this was in the news, and that's why the parliamentary privileges is very important from that point of view examination. And with regard to this parliamentary privileges, let's look at some of the important aspect that what are the various nuances connected with the questions first. Okay, so let's see the questions here. The number 1 question we are going to see with regard to the parliamentary privileges. Parliamentary privileges, we all know, are the privileges granted to the legislature in the parliament and state assemblies. And first of all, the article would be 105 clause 2 for the parliament and article 194 clause 2 for the state assemblies. Okay, these are the parliamentary privileges which protect them from anything said or voted in the parliament. The main intention of these parliamentary privileges are to provide the legislatures a freedom in their speech and expression inside the parliament so that they can vote according to their conscience. They can say anything according to their conscience, but that anything doesn't mean that they can have their criminal liability being shielded from the parliamentary privileges. The criminal liability being that if you are taking any bribe for saying and voting anything in the parliament, it will not be extended as an immunity under the privileges section. Okay, so the purpose is simple, to ensure that legislators can freely express their views. However, it was in news why Supreme Court has declared that taking the bribes will not be protected under the privileges. Why? Because there's a timeline for that case. The case was that initially in the year 1998, there was a case called as Narasimha Rao versus CBI. Okay, so in this case, what happened? There was an allegations against that there will be no immunity to parliamentarians who take the bribe to vote. However, in that case, a 5-judge constitutional bench (CB) has held that these lawmakers have the immunity against the criminal proceedings. So whatever will the criminal proceedings they will have the immunity against that, any speech made and the vote cast inside the parliament, okay, or in the houses of the parliament or the state legislature. However, in 2014, based on a similar case, there was a case involving a political leader from Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, Sita Soren. So there was a similar case. However, in that, the Jharkhand High Court has refused to quash the criminal case which has been registered against the political leader who has allegedly taken the bribe in the Rajya Sabha polls. So the case lingered upon, and on the 4th March 2024, the Supreme Court under the 7-judge bench has overturned the 5-judge bench 1998 case. Okay, so on 4th March 2024, current update, this has quashed the 1998 judgment, and it has held that bribery is not protected by the parliamentary privileges. The 7-judge bench has observed this. So that's why let's look at the questions here. The first question says, topic 1, parliamentary privileges, that statement 1 and 2 based. It means that you have to find out which of the statement is correct and are they correct explanation of one another or not. These kind of questions being seen in the UPSC nowadays, so it's very prudent to make such questions and have a good practice over there. So the first statement says that lawmakers facing bribery charges in connection with their speech and votes in the House are immune from criminal prosecution. Aspirants, as we have just discussed, that according to the recent judgment, the 4th March 2024 judgment, they are not protected with regard to the bribery charges if they have taken the bribe to vote or for saying something in the House of the Parliament. So one will be here incorrect. Okay, that's why remaining in touch with the current will help you to eliminate also. The next statement 2 says that as per Article 105 Clause 2, no member of Parliament shall be liable to any proceeding in any court in respect of anything said or vote given by him in the Parliament or any committee thereof. So committee and vote, anything said, will be the keywords here, because UPSC might ask you to confuse it with one another. Okay, so this is for the Article 105 Clause 2 for Member of Parliament, and Article 194 Clause 2, identical protection to members of State Assembly. So 2 statement in itself is correct, but it is not in consonance with the statement 1, or is not the correct explanation for the statement 1, because we can see the 4 options which have been given, that both statement 1 and 2 are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation for statement 1. No, it cannot be there. Similarly, the answer will be statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct one. So aspirants, UPSC might ask something more question on the parliamentary privileges, which you can read from the standard books, and further down the line you can also have a good command over the recent current affairs, as we have just discussed now. So let's see this topic number 2, which we are going to see cover in this session. The topic number 2 on which the question have been framed relates to the 6th schedule and demands of Ladakh. Okay, so recently there was a news that few days back, 2 days, 3 days back, that Amit Shah will be visiting, the Home Minister Amit Shah will be visiting the Ladakh, and he might announce the statehood and the 6th schedule for the demand of the Ladakh. Now Ladakh is Union Territory. Okay, this is clear to you. And with regard to the Ladakh, it has been made Union Territory by an Act of Parliament in 2019, and the 6th schedule we all know under the Indian Constitution, which provides the special provisions for the administration of tribal areas in the state of Assam, Meghalaya, okay, Tripura and Mizoram. So these 4 states are covered under the 6th schedule, and these 4 states have under 6. It is a provision that these the tribal areas under these state will be protected under the 6th schedule. Now this 6th schedule grants more autonomy in terms of the administration. The application of the local customary laws are allowed in this state. They have their own administration on the resource utilization. They have their own customs, and their customs have been recognized and safeguarded under the Indian Constitution. If you know, these 6 schedule have a background written in the tribal Panchsheel, where the tribal areas had to be governed in a specific manner, which was announced by the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru. So that's why let's see the question here. And Ladakh was demanding that we shall be given the 6th schedule because we have a special conditions in our state with regard to our strategic location, geographical location, presence of tribal population, etc. So let's see the questions here. The question says, the question have 2 statement based question here, 1 and 2, and the standard format has been followed here. So let's see the statement here. According to Article 244 Clause 2, the provisions of the 6th schedule shall apply to the administration of the tribal areas in the state of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. Nothing incorrect in that, very factual one, correct one. The second statement says that Ladakh cannot be provided protection under 6th schedule as its provisions only apply to areas mentioned in the Article 244 Clause 2. Now, there is a concept involved here. What is the concept here? that until now Ladakh has not been made under the 6th schedule, and the provisions of the 6th schedule only applies to areas mentioned under the article 244 clause 2. So that's why the statement number 2 is also correct here. Answer would be both 1 and 2. With regard to the 6th schedule, the 6th schedule grant the autonomy to these areas which have been mentioned here under the, they have an autonomous district council, and these autonomous district council have the legislative powers. They have the legislative powers, and these legislative powers, they are very much empowered on specific subjects like land, forest, local government. Okay, so these are the specific subjects which have been mentioned, and they also have the authority to administer these areas and resources. Whatever the resources they have, they can administer these areas and resources according to their custom. So the customary laws, their custom will be allowed to be followed in these areas. These also provide the safeguard. Okay, so that's why the interest and the social economic interest, the promotion of social economic development is the core of the 6th schedule area. So that's why Ladakh has been demanding that. Okay, so statement 1 and 2 both are correct here. So of course the answer will be here C. Answer will be C. Next topic we have the current affairs, digital intelligence program and right to know caller. This topic is being in news because of the development in this field with regard to the platforms which have been launched by the Department of Telecommunication. The Department of Telecommunication has launched the platform known as Chakshu, which aimed to enable the telecom users, the telephone users, to report the instances of fraud or spam calls which they get with regard to the financial transactions or Aadhaar card related, any identity proof, any banking transaction they might have their connection with. So that's why the Department of Telecommunication has taken this initiative by launching a platform known as Chakshu. So that on that platform users can report, okay, on the platform known as Chakshu, the users can report their fraud, okay. So this is the intent of this platform, and so that's why this is in news, and that is the digital intelligence program. Okay, and with regard to the digital intelligence program, it was also introduced alongside the Chakshu platform, and this platform, the digital intelligence platform, mainly serves as a non-public. This digital intelligence platform serves as a non-public data sharing. In this non-public data sharing means that it is not shared with the public. So with whom it will be shared? It will share with the stakeholders like law enforcement agencies, okay, then the banks or the financial institutions, okay, thereafter the identity document issuers like Aadhaar, etc., identity document issuers, okay, then the social media platforms, the telecom service providers, and this platform serves mainly as a data resource sharing, so that the data and the resource can be shared along with that. Further, this right to know has been in the news. Why? Because the telecom minister Ashwini Vaishnav has also called for the caller name presentation. The caller name presentation. This he has said will enable the receiver to know that who is calling to him, and he has compared this right to know with the right to know who is knocking at the door. It means it has a potential benefit in terms of knowing the person who is calling you, so that the fraud can be negated. So that's why this was in news. Let's see the question based on that. So of course the Chakshu we have just talked about. Chakshu, recently seen in news, is associated with which of the following? So let's see the options here. It is India's first social media surveillance technology. No, it is not that. However, in UPSC, question might ask in such manner. Okay, and do have a more broader understanding with regard to the data privacy laws. Data privacy. This is an not a seasonal topic, but it is a more important topic with regard to the nowadays happening the contemporary issues, that the data sharing, the data privacy is been in news, and that might be asked. So the next option for us is, it is India's first holistic digital intelligence platform. Okay, let's see. This might be the answer, but let's see what is the third option. It is a platform for telecom users to report fraud or spam callers. Yes, it is the correct option. Why not B? Because it is not a holistic in data digital intelligence platform, but it is a platform for users to report fraud or spam callers, so that the caller can report this spam to the specific platform that has been known as the संचार साथी .gov.in/sfc in smalls. Okay, so that they can report the online call based fraud on this. Okay, this type of fraud can be reported on that. And further, what are those related fraud which can be reported? Like the fraud with regard to the bank accounts. Okay, bank account frauds, the payment wallets. Okay, payment wallet fraud, SIM card based frauds, gas electricity connection KYC update, expiry or deactivation, because sometimes we receive that your credit card or this and that card is going to expire soon. You contact with our customer care representative, and thereon they will con you. Further, with regard to the rising instances of extortion with regard to the sexual activities, known as the sextortion, so that anyone, if anyone is blackmailing someone based on the sexual relations, so it can also be included under this platform. Okay, and further, we have talked about the data intelligence platform, which was just introduced as a non-public data sharing resource. So this is the very good step of Government of India, and do keep a tab on such news and reports which are coming into the mainstream media, because that might be of the interest for the UPSC to ask questions. So let's see the answer here. Answer was C. Now let's move on to the next topic which we have to see. The next topic is on the laundromat countries. This was in news. The laundromat countries was in news because of the term which has been used by the countries which have imposed some sanctions on that. Okay, so we'll discuss on this through a question here. Okay, consider the following statement about laundromat countries. Okay, now laundromat countries are those countries which are referred to a group of nations. These are a group of nations. Okay, and these group of nations, why they have been called so? Because these nations engage in a practice of purchasing the Russian oil. They have been purchasing the Russian oil, and thereafter they reroute these oils after making them into products, petroleum products, and these reroute products to the countries under sanctions. These reroute under countries under sanctions. So it means that the sanction which have been imposed on Russia, because it will not have trade with countries, so the oils from the Russia which the Russia is selling in a cheaper prices, these oils are being taken and these have been rerouted through the products, the petroleum products which have been made through that, rerouting these oil products to countries under sanctions. And what are those countries which are being identified as laundromat countries? The countries are China, India, Turkey, UAE, and Singapore. These are the countries which have been identified as a laundromat country. And the issue of this laundering the oil arises from the process of importing Russian crude oil. So initially this is the not initially, but in fact this is the importing of the Russian crude oil at discount price, and then refining these oil. Okay, refining these oil into products and then selling these products into the markets. to sanctioned countries. So that's why this selling to sanctioned countries. Okay. So the main motive of sanction is being defeated here. So that's why this has been in news, and this will undermine the sanction imposed on Russia, and it will enable the Russia to generate revenues despite the restriction by redirecting the origin of oil products. Now, sanctions are being imposed on Russia due to its advances in Ukraine and its war, and the main intention of the sanctions are to disable the country by imposing the financial sanctions, financial transactions, so that in the absence of greater amount of finances, the country will be under pressure to stop its moves. The main intention of the sanction anywhere is that only. However, in the present context, in the present global order, Russia is selling its oil at a cheaper prices, and those oil are being purchased by the countries, and they reroute those oils by refining into products to the sanctioned countries. So the main intent is defeated. Now, India has also been in this. Okay, India has also been in this, and according to that, India's interest doesn't lie into defying the sanction, but its interest lies in procuring the cheaper oil prices and diversifying its energy base, or diversifying its oil sources. Because the OPEC countries, the petroleum produce exporting countries, are offering some higher prices for those products. However, the Russian oils are cheaper in nature, and India has a strategic autonomy. It means India's autonomy is well defined in the strategic manners. It will not be bowed down by any countries. However, this might have a strain on the relation between US and India. That's a thing of a future, but for our purpose, our understanding, this laundromat countries concept was important, and with regard to that concept, the factual information which we have just discussed right now. So let's see the questions here. It is those countries, okay, it is those countries which act as a tax haven for illicit wealth and investment. No, it was not. These countries are sanctioned for the involvement in the laundering money for Russia. Very close, laundering money for Russia, but the laundering is not only laundering through a simple purpose, but with a different motive and different purpose, different object, like oil was being laundered. So it will also be not the answer here. India is not considered as a laundromat country. Just we have discussed, India is one of the country which has been designated and considered as a laundromat country. So how many of the given statement are correct? So none of the above are correct here. So answer will be D, none of the above are correct. So I hope the concept is clear to you. Concept is with regard to the importing, buying of the Russian oil and refining it, and the product is being taken to the sanctioned country. So the main intention of the sanction is being defeated. Such kind of terms are important from the UPSC point of view. Let's see the last topic of the day based on that current affairs. And the last topic is Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. The fifth number is Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM. The CBAM is back in the news due to the recent deals of India and EU FTA. So FTA, you all know, free trade agreement, the agreement between two countries. The bilateral agreement can be there, it can be multilateral agreement. The FTA, free trade agreement, it means the tariffs and the restrictions on the trade through the tariffs can be reduced to a minimum, or they have a friendly relation with regard to their trade relations. Okay, this is known as the FTA. This FTA is very important from the point of view of examination. Do have a check on that FTA. Further, this was in news because CBAM is back in news. The Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism was back in news due to the ongoing India-EU European Union FTA talks. Now, what is this Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism? This Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism came in the backdrop of and in the part of the Fit for 55 initiative. This Fit for 55 initiative is a part of the EU reduction of the carbon emission, reduction of carbon or the greenhouse gas reduction by 55% by 2030. That by 2030 there will be 55% reduction in the greenhouse gas emissions through the carbon and this is called the Fit 55 initiative. And the CBAM, that is the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, is a part of that. Now, what is the concept behind the CBAM? The concept behind the CBAM is very similar to the carbon tax. Very similar to the carbon tax. It means the carbon tax means the products which have a carbon emission will be taxed a certain amount, so that that amount can be utilized for the technology, for financing of the climate change initiative, etc. So this carbon tax is a form of tax which is being imposed on the products which have a higher carbon intensity. This has been in news, is the concept with regard to that. And here the carbon border adjustment mechanism is a carbon tax on, this is a carbon tax on imports of products into the EU market. And with the import of these products, these carbon products have imposed a 25 to 30% of the taxes, and is the part of the Fit for 55 initiative of European Union. And the main purpose first is the carbon tax, okay, to tax the carbon intensive producers, and thereafter, according to that, the EU, they wanted to have a parity in terms of that goods will be taxed to maintain the parity with import and the domestic manufacture. So suppose the EU is imposing something around 25% of the carbon tax on its local manufacturer, so that the carbon intensity product will be reduced by that time. However, the similar, if any imports is coming into the Europe, so the similar carbon tax adjustment mechanism, 25% tax will be imposed on that product, so that there will be parity between the imports and the domestic manufacturers. I hope the concept is clear to you. This is the concept of CBAM, carbon border. It means it will be importing or exporting adjustment mechanism. So it is the carbon border adjustment mechanism. It means it will be a form of carbon tax which will be imposed on the import of products. The imposition will be of 25 to 30%, and is a part of Fit 55 initiative of European. Okay. And the CBAM introduced as a part of European Green Deal Fit for 55 package. It shall be very important from the point of view of examination. Also do have a look over the India's initiative. Okay, India's zero carbon footprint initiative, India's NDC. Okay, so these are very important with regard to that. And the CBAM will always apply to the carbon intensive product, carbon intensive sectors and products, like, for example, like sectors like steel, which uses a lot of carbon, the cement, electricity. Okay, these are the carbon intensive sectors, like iron, hydrogen. So these are these products will be under the carbon border adjustment mechanism. It is being implied by the European Union on the products which are being imported. Okay, so let's see the questions here. The first statement says the EU carbon border adjustment mechanism would not be applicable to fertilizers to ensure food security. Now this has been in news, but the statement 1 is incorrect. Why? Because this will be applicable to fertilizers also. Why? Because fertilizers is being included in that list. This list, in that list you can also include the fertilizers. So fertilizers will be included in that list. Okay, I think this concept is clear to you. Now the CBAM is not part of the European deal and Fit for 55. Absolutely incorrect. Just I have told you that it is a part of the European Green Deal and Fit for 55 initiative. Okay, so this is the most important thing to understand, that this initiative is mainly to incentivize the global decarbonization efforts while safeguarding the competitiveness. Okay, because you can just I have told you that they wanted to maintain the parity so that the competitiveness will be maintained. And further, with regard to this carbon tax mechanism, the CBAM is a part of that, is a part of Green Deal initiative Fit 55, which is the reducing the emissions by 55% by 2030. It is a part of the European Union efforts, and to the there is a process involved in that its implementation will be from 2026. But however, this was in news due to the issues with regard to the ongoing FTA talks and what can be included in the FTA, what other goods or the products which can be included under the carbon border adjustment mechanism. So keep a tab on that. We'll come with the next round of session. Thank you very much. Keep studying.